So hi folks, Mr. Hickey here, and just a little video to introduce you to the Irish history course. Okay, so as you can see here in my folders, we've just finished with Jarrow, Dictatorship and Democracy. All right, it's a long course, it goes on for a bit as you've seen. We now move on to the far shorter Irish history course, which is divided into two parts. Firstly, Ireland 1870 to 1914. And following that, then, and I suppose we'll do this in sixth year, Ireland 1912 to 1949. Okay, now let's have a look at what's ahead of us as regards Ireland 1870 to 1914. Okay, and I suppose if you look at the headings here in my folder, this will give you a very good idea of what's ahead of us. Now, today, now I'm going to ask you to look at the introduction, basically the nuts and bolts of how Ireland was governed in 1870 by Britain. After that, then, we're going to move on to things like cultural nationalism. Again, I'll talk about that now shortly, but just to give you an overview of the other things besides that we'll be covering. So we'll be looking at the 1913 lockout and socialism, the whole idea of home rule. Okay, as you're about to find out, the vast majority of people in Ireland up to the 1916 Rising were home rulers. So your ancestor was probably a home ruler until 1916 and decided home rule wasn't enough for them. They wanted full independence from Britain. So I think that should be interesting to see what our ancestors actually believed in terms of how Britain and Ireland should relate to each other. Again, a lot of us come from a farming or agricultural background, so the land question should also be interesting. How it came to be that Irish people came to own their own land. We will also look at the Sinn Féin party, unionism, and women's suffrage. Okay. Now, as I said today, now we're going to look at the introduction. In other words, how Ireland was governed by Britain, and following that, then you're going to go on and look at cultural nationalism. The introduction shouldn't take that long. So when we talk about cultural nationalism, just click on it here. You're going to be looking at the following: the Gaelic League and what happened to the Irish language. Then you're going to look at the GAA. And I suppose a lot of us are, if we're not GA players, we follow the GA very closely. So we're going to look at the GA's early history. And then we're going to look at what was called the Anglo-Irish Literary Revival. You know, how at the turn of the 20th century, there was a boom in interest in Irish literature. Okay. So those folders, I'll share those with you in time as we need them. All right. So you're going to find it's a different course. It's closer to home, I suppose. Up to now, a lot of our history has been very it is very international and European, and you're looking at world wars and that kind of thing. What I like about the Irish history, it's very local. And when you're looking at things like land, the GA, politics, Irish politics, you're looking at our own history and what our ancestors believed in. Okay? So I hope you're going to find the course interesting. You begin today now by looking at how Ireland was governed by Britain. So I'll share the notes with you there shortly. All right, lads, have a good one. Bye bye.